$500,000 made in the first year off of short-term rentals. Covering all of that and more in today's video. Welcome everybody back to Suburbs of Seattle. I'm here with Dennis and Frank, the proud owners of Valera Suites, which is a short-term rental management company, right guys? Yep. That's what you do? Awesome, good to have you here on the show.
Glad to be here.
Appreciate you, or on the channel I should say. So I want to dive in right away. I know our viewers are looking for some great content, which I'm sure you guys are going to provide. So let's start off a little bit about what you do and how you got started.
Started off with partnering up, really wanted to get into real estate. There's different ways to get into it.
Yeah.
Realized that, hey, Airbnb is kind of a cool thing. Partnered up, acquired our first property, and from there, here we are a year later, and I made $500,000.
Is that just off of the one property, or?
No, we've obviously expanded from there, but all started from one property.
Got it, got it. How many do you guys have now?
We got 20.
20?
Yep.
And they're all here in Vancouver, or?
We got 13 here, 7 in Florida.
Got it.
Sarasota, Florida.
So Vancouver, Washington, for those of you who are watching, not British Columbia. Vancouver, Washington, and in Florida.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it. Two completely different climates, right?
And different target audience too, but you know, one pays more.
Right, right. So I'm sure you guys learned a lot in this first year of doing this. I mean, I used to have a rental, and I can't imagine running 20. So good for you guys, but tell me a little bit about like, what did you learn going from 1 to 20 in a year? Because I'm sure you had to learn a lot in order to pull that off.
Yeah, I'm more on the operations side, so I make everything run, make sure we make the money. He's on the acquisition side, so I'll just let him take care of the acquisition side of it.
So with acquisitions, there's 3 different ways of getting rentals. One traditional way is going through a real estate agent like this guy, buying a property and short-term renting it. That's going to be one way, and that's usually the best one because you get equity growth. You're also making really good money off of short-term rentals. The second one that a lot of you guys heard was arbitrage, is when you rent a place and you sublease it out, make sure that you have your contracts in place and you're legally doing it.
We'll talk about that later too, right?
Yeah, we'll get into that. And which one was the third one? I forgot.
Just management.
Oh, yeah.
We still need our coffee.
And the third way.
Yeah.
And the third one is management, where somebody else owns the property, like Andrey, and he's tired of doing it by himself because it's a ton of work when you're doing one. But once you have your systems in place, that's where management companies come in. And once you have your systems in place, you can scale it to 20 to 100 and still make sure that everything is
taken
working,
care of.
Yeah, working like a clock.
Yeah, because I assume there's going to be a lot of moving parts. I mean, I know when I had my rental, you know, you have to have a cleaning company and then people who probably repair stuff in case, you know, something happens.
Yeah, it depends. Some people just want to invest and put the money in, and there's 2 ways, obviously, in the real estate industry. You're either putting it into, if you're talking about residential, you put it in long-term, yeah, your cash flow maybe $300, $500 a month.
Yeah.
With the short-term rentals, you might be looking at $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, depends on what location you're in.
Cash flow.
Yeah, you're
flow.
positive, plus you're having the equity gain, of obviously, so you don't take care of the whole process of cleaning and everything. So a lot of people, when they do buy their first property, they technically lose money because they're trying to focus on managing the property and saving that whatever 10, 15%, whatever the management company charges, but they don't realize how much time they're investing and taking it out of their main thing, what they do, which could be whatever they're doing. So
and on top of that, if you're starting, like you guys learned a lot with the 20 rentals that you have. On top of that, when you're starting out, I know when I was starting out with my first rental, there was a lot that I had to learn, and most of the lessons I learned along the way through mistakes, from my house getting flooded and dealing with parties and all of this crazy stuff that sometimes you guys might hear online. So, you know,
how much time did it take away from your day-to-day job?
Oh, dude, just to get some money from Airbnb, it took me a month and a half of negotiations to get 25 grand.
That's with it getting flooded. My question is, like, you're a real estate agent, and you were doing real estate while managing your own property.
Heck yeah.
How much time does it take away from your day-to-day work? Like,
You don't notice it because it's little by little, but I guarantee you if you stack it up, probably half the day is gone anyways because there's so many little moving parts from when when I managed mine, and I've since sold my property. Because I got tired of managing it from 3 hours away. And you guys manage them in Florida and here, so clearly you know something that I didn't.
Well, we're going nationwide.
Nationwide.
That's the goal. The goal is managing nationwide. We're in Florida right now, getting into Arizona, and then into Texas after that.
Got it.
So our goal is to go nationwide with the management side of things. And let's talk a little bit more about like the systems that you have to have in place just for a functional Airbnb.
So before we talk about the systems, just a quick thing to touch up on acquisitions, because I know that's a key part, right? I mean, you got to start somewhere, and you start by acquiring property. So obviously, shameless plug, I am a licensed real estate agent, so if you guys are looking to buy or sell property here in the state of Washington, I can help you out, or in any other state. I got people all over the country that I can connect you with. But let me ask you this. How did you find your best deals? Were they, like, straight up, I know some people find off market, they door knock, they cold call. Were all of your deals through an agent, like realistically? Like, how did that?
We ended up using an agent for every deal, yes. But, I mean, depends. Our first deal we found was literally just one of the guys that was renting from us. He was renting from us here, actually, in this office. Jeff, which you know him.
He's a real estate agent, too.
Yep. He came in and he said, hey, I have not a duplex. It was a condo, and it's got a view of the lake. As soon as he said view of the lake condo, I'm like, dude, that's
money.
That's the selling title right there. So that's exactly what we did. We ended up, going with him, looking at it. I think it wasn't even listed. It was like a friend
off market.
Yeah, it was off market
deal that
we got a really good deal on that, and then got into Airbnb. You're just super excited. You're like, oh, let me just get this stuff started. Didn't care about contracts, didn't care about HOAs, didn't care about anything.
You're just like, let's get going.
Yep. And then quickly realized that apparently an HOA is a pretty serious thing.
Yeah.
And they could really work up their fees real quick.
Yeah.
And that's why we ended up selling that property, is because after like 7 months of just going back and forth and trying to negotiate with an HOA after the fact, maybe if we started before, we'd have better luck.
Got it.
But after, they're already trying to kick us out because we're short-term renting.
Now, did you get out of that positive is what I want to know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
We definitely got out of that positive.
How much did you make? Straight up. Let the viewers know.
What did we do on that?
Well, let's just break some actual numbers. 130 is what we bought it for.
130?
130. Or was it 140?
Are we talking about, do we get out of that positive on the sales side or on the Airbnb side?
Let's talk about cash flow off of monthly rentals, right? Since
we had it for 7 months, and we were averaging out $8K, I would say, a month.
For a condo?
For a condo. We were averaging $8K.
Condo that's worth $130,000.
What the heck?
And we were all cash into it, so we didn't really have a monthly payment. So we were making money.
I don't even care what happened. You guys made money.
And when we left, we remodeled this, so we did have equity gain, which we made a ton of money on that.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, over 6 figures.
So for those of you who are looking to acquire property, probably a helpful tip is connecting with the right agent, right? Maybe that agent, I know I do a lot of off-market deals as well. So make sure that you guys connect with the right person who does off-market deals and looks at your on-market deals as well, right? That's a good step one.
Yeah, and it's a really good idea to have an agent, because you come to him and you're like, hey, I'm looking to do this. I'm looking to do an Airbnb. And you as an agent, it's your job to make sure there's no short-term rental restrictions.
Yeah.
Make sure that the HOA allows short-term rentals, because, I mean, we were getting, the HOA was going after us. They were fining it. At one point, they were giving us fines daily. And we were still Airbnb because we were like, we can cover the fees.
Yeah.
It was so profitable.
You were making so much money.
We were making money even after. But not saying you guys should do that. I don't recommend doing that, because quickly they racked their fees to like $7,000. They got their attorneys involved. We got our attorneys involved.
But you still made money.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we made money. But I'm not telling anybody to go out there and get an Airbnb in an HOA. That's an absolute no.
Stay... To our mic, stay away from HOAs. Yes. Got it.
HOAs, short-term rentals don't mix.
That's why you got to find a good agent. I think that someone who knows what they're talking about, knows the rules, especially in that state. Because same thing with Florida. When we went to Florida, we have a property there. A knowledgeable agent helped us out a lot.
Yeah.
That's
like, and there's CC&Rs too, covenants, conditions, restrictions, which is not HOA. It's just what was imposed on that land when the developers developed it. So you got to look out for those too.
Well, you literally have to look at all short-term restrictions.
County rules, right?
Everything.
County,
you
state,
have to look at county,
city,
state. Like, you have to have an agent that knows what the hell he's doing, because I was about to get a property in Destin, and the thing that stopped me is 6-month rental restrictions.
I guess it wasn't destined. Anyways, 6 months rental restrictions.
Yeah, you don't want to.
So you could only rent it for 6 months.
6 months at a time.
Yeah, the minimum lease is 6 months.
Yeah.
So with that, there's no matter how you try, you can't get away with anything.
So acquisitions, connecting with the right agent, staying away from HOAs.
Making sure you're legally allowed to do it, because if you're not allowed to do it, you can still get away with it, but
You'll probably be screwed.
at one point somebody's gonna come in there and sue your ass for $100,000, and then you're gonna be like, why the hell did I do this?
Yeah.
Like, you're just playing with fire at that point.
It's a bigger headache.
We've been
Yeah.
with HOAs. We've been in places that have short-term rental restrictions, and sometimes the counties, they'll even impose short-term rental laws on you. But there is a way out, and that's why you have to know people that know what they're doing.
Know the rules.
Yeah, like right now we're working with an attorney, and there could be a loophole for short-term rentals in certain states, certain counties, to where there's certain laws that protect the homeowner. I don't know much about it. I'm not going to talk about it right now, because
This is something you're going through now.
It's an ongoing.
I'm working on this right now. But and that's kind of where you stand out from, self-managing to managing with somebody like us, because we already know all that stuff. We paid attorneys like thousands of dollars to find out that stuff. We have agents that are working for us full time. We have people looking for off-market deals. We've dealt with HOAs. We've been sued and lost $30,000 on our second listing.
Yeah.
So we know all that stuff, and the only way you learn is experience. And if you're a solo, if you're one person and you buy.
What are the dangers for somebody who wants to manage it themselves? I mean, it sounds like it's doable, but probably not.
I mean, the toughest thing I would say is probably if you don't have the right people around you, or systems or processes, you can really get screwed really fast. So if you don't know the right person, for example, a real estate agent who can actually tell you, yo, don't do this, and like you can't do short-term rentals here, you'll do it, you'll get screwed. For example, if you go out there and you put a listing and there's no disclaimers or an official rules on Airbnb, even though everyone thinks you're protected, you can actually be screwed. That's exactly like we were screwed. So like there's these things that you just need to have the right team around you, and building a strong team is...
Let's back up to the screwed part. How were you screwed? Let's give them something to learn from. Just a quick 30 seconds.
Go ahead.
We'll go into the lawsuit that happened. We lost $31,000 because we had to settle a lawsuit. Number one, somebody walks into your unit and you didn't have them sign a lease agreement. Because why the hell would you have somebody sign a lease agreement when they're on Airbnb?
Yeah,
that's what we think. Airbnb says, list it on here and get your booking now.
That's it.
That's all you did.
Yeah.
And that's all we did.
Yeah.
And what happens is when somebody comes in and they come in with bad intentions of possibly suing somebody, they find something like an edge where they find something that they can just grab onto and sue you for. For us, it was, we didn't have him sign a lease agreement, vacation rental agreement, and he got bit by a bee.
On the
property, ended up getting bit by a bee on the property, claimed that the property had poor maintenance, even though it was the second listing, therefore it was just pressure washed. He found
it was fresh.
Yeah, it was fresh. He found the tiniest little wasp nest and used that against us. And then when we went to pretty much going to court with this guy, it came down to, hey, did you have him sign liability waivers? No. Okay, well then eat it. That's literally.
And how much did that cost you? That lesson?
$31,000. We settled.
And you don't want to fight it to the end. It just wouldn't.
It wouldn't make sense because our attorneys told us that you're going to go to court. It's going to take 2 years, and Airbnb has this whole thing with like if you're going to go to court and you want Airbnb to represent you or even help you, then you have to pause your listing and you cannot relist it until the case is settled. And the last lawsuit we did lasted 3 years. If you unlist the property for 3 years, you're losing $250,000. That didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because on average right now in Florida, we have a property that first year did $78,000. We still have 2 months left.
And this is a mansion or what?
No, it's a 1,300 square foot home. And it
a regular three bedroom,
2 bath, nothing special.
78,000.
78,000 is what we were on that house year
we
to
still
date.
got 2 months.
Is that normal? Is that a normal thing? Like if somebody says, I just want to manage one rental by myself, like is that normal? Is that where you get nightly rates?
So
like
we're doing
that's a lot of money.
We're doing $78,000 on that property right now. We had a guy come to us and he tried to self-manage, and he was stuck getting from $3,800 to $4,500 a month. That's it. He couldn't get anything more.
That's about like 50 grand a year.
Whatever
45.
it is. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't do the numbers on that, but
Yeah.
he was stuck. He was stuck at about $4,500 a month. He didn't want to pay a management company. He's trying to save the 10%, 15%, whatever. And when I was talking to him, I was like, dude, you should be doing $65,000 to $7,000 a month on this property in the slow season. In the peak season, you should be doing $10,000 to $14,000. And he's like, well, I can't break, $3,800. I'm making like $1,000. It's way better than, long term. But when we brought him on, our first month we did $6,500 with him. And then even after we cut our fee from him, he's still making more money.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I guess at that
So
point.
you just have to have.
But that's the right management company, because I know you guys don't. I know companies that charge way more than what you guys shared with me before. I mean, I know some companies that charge 25% for short-term rentals. For long-term rentals, most companies charge like 10%. Do you guys, is it a flat rate or is it a case-by-case basis? How does that work?
Right now it's a case-by-case.
Case-by-case basis?
Pretty much until we get up to 100 properties, we're going to be doing about like 15%.
That's not bad.
It's going to be about 15%, and we're going to pretty much show you exactly how we make all the money. So we don't focus on just nightly rates. We make a lot of money, a lot more money than anybody thinks from upsells. And upsells is going to be, anything from extra guests, extra cars, having pets. What else? There's a
Late
ton of
checkout, early checkout, all the basic stuff, but eventually they rack up.
There's a ton of little things that we pretty much use to upsell people, and they do it willingly. This is not something where you're like, hey, book with us.
You
and
don't
you're
trick
gonna get
them
a ton
into it.
Yeah, it's
or-
not
ton
like,
of hidden
hey,
fees.
pay
No
us,
sleazy
pay
tactics
us
here.
$50,
Straight
your
up.
showers are
Got
going to
it.
work,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
none
yeah.
of that kind of stuff.
Insert quarter.
Yeah.
To get a towel.
Yeah, to get a towel.
Nope, we have. We live by our reviews. That's the biggest thing. We try to have
Word of mouth.
literally
Yep.
five-star reviews on all of our properties. If you're going to be freaking upselling somebody and they're going to be not satisfied, what's the first thing that's going to be on their review? Oh, I came to stay here. They charged me for every little bit.
Now, do you guys just do direct bookings from Airbnb, or is it by now? Do you have your own thing that you're doing? Just direct bookings through your own website, like. How does that
when
work?
we started, it was just Airbnb. That's
Just
when we
Airbnb.
had the first list.
And that's still the main thing, right?
Yeah. Even
I'd
right
say
now,
it's like 90%.
I'd say like 80 to 90%
Yeah.
is where most of the income comes. Now we're getting into where we're obviously getting more VRBO, Booking.com. We're on those platforms as well, but we are getting more into direct bookings because we kind of enjoy it more.
Well,
And it pays
plus
well.
word of mouth, good reviews.
Yeah. You have returning guests that are not going to mess up your property. They're going to pay you right to the company. It's a win-win because they don't have to pay the extra Airbnb fees that Airbnb charges. And we can technically charge a little higher.
And that's another
And we
benefit
make
of
more
probably
money.
going with you
Yeah.
guys. If somebody
Yeah.
signs up,
I mean,
you
our
can
first-
swap guests between properties and fill
Yeah,
slots.
on the guest that I was just talking about, the first booking that we got him was a direct booking for $6,500. That means one cleaning, no problems. You just get them in there and that's it.
Dang.
And it was for a month. Yeah, it was for a
Well,
month.
it's a
So
month and a half booking, so
But it
it's
was paying like $10,000. So for a month, it's paying
$6,500.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, this is like it's like an okay season right now. If we're looking in Florida, that's why we have properties there. It's like when you're looking at the hot season, peak season, which is kind of starting January to like May, you're going to be making 10 to 15 grand a month per property. And these are not like beachfront properties. These are just kind of away from the beach, drive from
It's
the
regular
beach.
property.
Dang.
So anyone can really get into it as an investment and make a pretty decent cash flow.
So we talked a lot about acquisitions. Let's talk about systems and processes, because there's no way, I mean, I don't even have to know anything about your business. There's no way you could do this without any kind of systems in place.
Absolutely not.
Frank, what does that look like to you on a day-to-day basis?
Well, again, your biggest thing that I'm going to emphasize on is you need to build a team. Starting from your real estate agent, probably to your lender if you're really investing, down to your cleaners, to your maintenance guys. So building your team is very, very important. I would say it's probably the hardest thing to do in this space, in the short-term space, finding these people, because in Florida, we just know from the experience that you can just go on Google and you can start calling all the plumbers you want, but you're only going to get a response in a month.
Dude, plumbers, I had
It's
a plumber
tough.
thing on my listing. They're like 2-3 weeks out.
It's tough. So having those people on a speed dial is a big thing.
Dang. Okay.
It's actually something we're even working on is this little side project that we want to build a software where it helps hosts who are either self-managing or management companies. We want to help them find these contractors quicker.
Oh.
So that's our big thing.
Not even find them. It would be like a host. Once they list their property, we'll help them list it on every website that we could possibly list it on, and then they'll have a designated team for their house.
Yeah.
Dude, that's money. And this is something.
That's what we're working on.
Is this in the works or something
We're
already
only
released?
developing stages, so we're
Okay.
we're getting this going.
The best part about
Don't
it,
steal that idea. We're working
Yeah,
on it.
if it comes out, we'll sue you guys. No, just kidding.
the best
Don't
thing,
steal. Go ahead.
the best thing about the software, it's going to be absolutely free to the hosts.
Yeah.
Dang, that's wicked. Just as part of the maintenance fee.
Yeah, because
that's value
that's
right
the
there.
one thing that we struggle and we realize that it's tough because we went through cleaners, we went through plumbers, we went through
Oh, man.
pool guys, and it's tough because that's the most important part to your business. Because when you need to fix something, your toilet's stuck and the guests are mad, that means a negative review or a positive review depending on how fast you can do it. And if you don't have your team in place, it's a negative review. You're losing money in the long run.
Dude.
Yeah.
So for us,
you had a
that's really
short-term
important.
rental. What would you do if you get a call, your guest checks in, like, hey, the place hasn't been cleaned?
Well, I was fortunate enough to have somebody here that I knew who could come out on site within, maybe a half an hour notice. But there were other issues of people that I didn't know, mainly contractors. When my bathroom flooded, just literally pee soaked through to the first floor.
Disgusting.
Took them, month and a half of Airbnb fighting with them and contractors, getting all of that in place was just the biggest pain in the butt. They covered my stays, yes, but it was just.
It's a headache and
I never want to go through that again. I
Yeah.
sold it during COVID. I was like, I'm out. I'm not going to manage this stuff anymore. I'm just focusing on sticking to where I live.
Yeah.
But I guess it makes sense if you have a team in place. I see how you guys do it because I would never.
Yeah,
ever.
that's the reason where it's like, if you're focusing, for example, you're in real estate, you're just investing. It doesn't make sense for you to really manage properties and
Dude.
unless you're trying to get out of real estate, which
Yeah, bro, my money's made.
exactly.
selling
So
and
if you're
buying.
investing, just hire a management company. They know what they're doing as long as they're a good management company, and they'll take care of for you. And but if you're self-managing, building that team is crucial.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
So, what have we learned? Just a little recap, right? Acquisitions, acquisitions, then systems and processes. And I know you mentioned contracts briefly, just,
You need to make sure you have your contracts in place from literally acquisitions to the person staying in your place. Acquisitions, if you're going after arbitrage, you need to make sure that your contract is solid and everybody knows what the hell they're agreeing to. Because if you just go in there and get a regular lease agreement, you sign it, and then your first issue with your guest, your first issue with even your guest going to the main office and saying, hey, I can't get into my Airbnb, you're getting kicked out. You're getting kicked
We're
out.
talking from
Right.
experience here.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
It's happened before.
that's
where
with HOAs like condos or stuff.
HOAs, if you're doing short-term rentals like arbitrage, where you get a lease and you sublease it out, and you don't have the right contract in place, same thing. We've had a guest book for 3 months, ran into an issue. The apartment's like, we want him gone. And it was because of a
Yeah.
parking issue.
Yeah.
It was because he just
Dang.
refused to
Even
park
though in the
backwards.
beginning of all this, it was agreed upon that they knew what we were doing. They were okay
cool with
They
it.
were cool with it. They wanted us to be
Yeah, when
there.
push comes to shove.
Yeah,
They
but
just
then,
use the
throw you under
contract
the bus.
against you, yeah.
so that's a big deal. And then from the other legal side, which is after that lawsuit, we realized that every single guest they have to sign a rental agreement. So
Before they come in.
before they come in,
What happens if they auto book on Airbnb and they don't want to sign it? Like you guys just don't.
so
give them
there's a
the
couple
code?
things that we have in place for that. On Airbnb, there's rules that you can set up. There's a custom just place where you can put whatever rules you want. So we put our rental agreement there, which already we can use that against them if anything happens. The number two, the day prior to their arrival, we send it to their email saying, hey, if we don't get a response from you, anything against this, then we will assume that you agreed to this.
Uh-huh.
So that's how we
And
send
that's
the
a
email to-
legal way.
Yeah.
We send that to them, and then also in every single property we have a mini tablet. When they come in, they have to check in because they get the basic info. Then they
Yeah.
don't necessarily have to, but to get
Well,
the
they don't
Wi-Fi.
get the Wi-Fi
Dude,
password.
that's legit. I didn't do it. I had a pamphlet and it said,
Yeah.
"This is where you take out the garbage."
I mean, there's an iPad in every house. You come in, first thing it asks you, you check in, you agree to terms, you agree to liability waivers.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
right there too. So there's 3 points of contact there.
It goes into the next step, and in the next step, it gives you your Wi-Fi password and like your check-in instructions and your checkout instructions. So if you don't want to use Wi-Fi, I guess you don't have to go through the tablet, but we already put the contract in front of them 3 times before that.
Got it.
So, I mean, that gives just an edge. Even if they don't sign it, when we're going to be at court, we're going to be like, hey, we have 3 points of contact about this contract. You've seen it. We sent it to you. We told you about it. It's on Airbnb, on email, and when you checked in. So it's there, and here's what our policies are. And if they're going to, it's a harder fight for them, for their lawyers.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing for us when we did have the lawsuit was we didn't have that in place. They just said, what did you guys have? Do you guys have any agreement? And we're like, well, whatever Airbnb has, but they didn't have a protection of liability. Apparently, all liability goes on us if you get bit by a wasp.
Would you say that was that your biggest lesson from this year? Or?
That was the most expensive lesson. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, well, at least, people go to college, spend hundreds of thousands, so count that as a quick $30,000 lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, the government will not give you a $10,000 grant, so you
it's
paid
like,
for it, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn. It was $30,000 to learn about contracts.
Literally. And as
Or you could have paid an attorney like $5 to get one.
Yeah.
as simple as it is, it was
So-
like, it's crazy how
And you guys
much it
got a
affected us.
special. You don't have to disclose the details, but you have a special contract. It's not.
It's not no regular contract off of Google that you get for renting your property or renting your
Yeah, you were
basement.
saying your lawyer spent
it's-
17 hours on it.
It's so our contract is pretty much all based to. He knows more about the contract, but it's all about short-term rentals.
Yeah.
All about short-term rentals.
All the possible things
What
that
does
can
it cover?
happen.
Like
It really-
just some dumb things.
In
that
short words, it just releases liability from us.
Yeah,
In
like
anything.
fully.
It says, hey,
if you don't know how to swim, don't swim.
You're
Anything
screwed.
could happen because
You're-
there's
it's
a
all on
crazy
you.
story also that happened in Washington. One dude, guest fell on their stairs. They had 6 properties, so they had 5 properties that were short-term rentals, and they had a
This is
person.
not with you. This
No,
is
just
yeah.
another one.
Uh-huh.
She sued off all his 5 proproperties and his personal home because he had it all in his
She
personal.
kept him.
She kept
Yeah.
all of them. She sued everything off
And
from them.
Dude, so
and his wife divorced him.
So
So let's pause
It's
for a
pretty
second.
serious.
Just I know we have a few minutes left, but in a few short words, like how when I had my house, I just had it under my name.
Yeah.
Like,
That's for
does an
mistake.
LLC? I mean, I know you guys aren't lawyers, but like, what's the surest way of doing this so that you don't get screwed, so that nobody can sue you, so that nobody can take away your property? Because I worked hard for my money, for my down payment, even though it was 3.5% down. Yes, people, it's possible to buy a home with 3.5% down. My first house back in 2017, but still, like, what's the surest way of doing this so that you can protect yourself?
this is not a legal advice.
Yeah, no
We're not
legal
allowed
advice,
to do
disclaimers.
this. But the simplest way was probably to put every property under a separate LLC.
Okay.
And
LLC will definitely protect you. Contracts will definitely protect you. Like the chick that fell down the stairs and sued the guy, he was hoping that Airbnb had his back. But when she went to court, I think she broke her leg or whatever.
Airbnb's like, you on your own, homie.
Yeah, pretty much. And then he ended up losing 5 properties.
That's
and
insane.
she won the lawsuit. Lost 5 properties. His wife divorced him. It was just
Dude, that's
it was
horrible.
Yeah, so
And it was all because the guest that came in, there's no contracts, there's no lease agreement signed, there is no iPads for them to check in through. I mean, everything just kind of added up, and we lost $30,000. There's people
That
out
guy
there
lost
that
a lot
lost
more.
millions
he
of
lost
dollars.
his personal home too, which sucks. It's
Bro.
like it really sucks.
So, and I don't want to end on a negative note here, like depressing.
Let's go on the positive
So,
side of Airbnb.
Positive side, what can our viewers take away?
Make a shit
Number one, Number one, acquisitions, right? We talked about that, how to acquire property. Number two, having systems and processes in place. Number three is contracts, right? Knowing your
That's
contracts.
the legal side of it.
And number four, we're going to plug these guys because instead of learning all of this, you could go with somebody who already knows all of this, who's paid through the education, right? And who can do it for you at a very reasonable cost, I might add, because I know people who charge 25% easily. I had clients who reached out to me wanting me to do this. I'm like, you're on your own, unless I'm like getting like 100% of the income. Like, I don't want to deal with this. So
I mean, there is
Yeah.
another part that I would want to add.
Yeah.
If you are self-managing, obviously with the 20 properties, we've learned that, hey, it's better to have some automation in place.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to reach out to every guest and tell them, hey, here's your check-in instructions.
Is there a software or a program that you guys can just share that's out there? It's something that could help these guys?
There is a software out there, but it doesn't do 100%.
Yeah.
And
so I mean,
that's why.
What's it called?
Guesty. We use Guesty.
Guesty.
It used to be Your Porter. It turned into
Your
Guesty
Porter.
for hosts. There's Guesty.com and there's Guesty4hosts.com. It's the one we use. It used to be Your Porter because
Do you guys have links, affiliate links?
I don't think they give us affiliate links.
I mean, even if there's, you can use.
I mean, either way.
There's a couple companies that you can use for automation. You can use Airbnb itself as well for automation.
They have some.
But it's not crazy.
Got it.
It's not crazy.
I mean, the coolest thing about them, I'd say, is that you can, as soon as a guest books your property, you can send them a welcome message, right? Before they check in, we send them the waiver to them, or the rental agreement. We send them that. An hour before they check in, we send them all the check-in instructions. At 6 p.m., after they check in, we tell them, hey, is everything going good? So and then before checkout, and then asking for a review.
And then if you need to take the trash out, we text them the night before saying, hey, please take the trash out.
So all these things.
And this is automated.
All automated. We don't have to touch. So that. Before, when we even had one property, it was annoying because you would forget, and you're like, the guest is at the door, you're sending the check-in instructions, it's annoying. So it's like this saved us so much time.
We had 13 people check in one day before.
And a little bit to touch up one more time about, okay, let's say somebody sees what you guys are doing, right? They want to reach out and have you guys manage it. What was that software thing that you said you're working on? Can you touch up a little bit more on that?
The software that we're working on is pretty much going to it's going to help people that self-manage. Because we understand that a lot of people, they just want to do it as a side hustle, and they love doing it, and it's just going to help people self-manage. Number one, it's going to take care of, all the automation for you.
Yeah.
It's going to...
A one-stop shop.
Yeah, one-stop shop. It's going to take care of automation. It's going to take care of your calendars. Like, if you're on multiple platforms, it's going to be all linked together. If, it's going to have a team in place. So, for example, somebody texts you and says, hey, I flushed something down the toilet, and my toilet's stuck. You're going to go on there, and you're just going to click... emergency, click, plumber, click, boom, you get you get a plumber out there. We're hoping to get responses out within 15 minutes, a plumber out within 24 hours.
So when can people expect, because we have two forms of listeners. We have some who will self-manage, some who will reach out to you guys. When can somebody expect this? Next year sometime, I assume?
I would say
probably towards the end of the year, next year.
End of next year, got it.
We're going to have some beta programs. I mean, if you guys are interested in something like that, reach out to us. We'll put you guys on the list. And
we'll put them in the description below, their links, so you guys can check them out.
We'll help you guys out in the meanwhile. If you want to self-manage, we'll help you guys out for now. But our software should be hitting the market, I would say, beta versions early next year, mid next year. We should have something solid, and then end of the year we want to do an actual reveal. But if you're interested in self-managing and you want a free platform that can help you with it, just reach out. That way you're on the list and you're the first one there. Yeah. We're not going to charge the hosts anything for it. So that's the craziest part.
And if you guys are looking to buy or sell a home here in the state of Washington or anywhere in the country, anywhere. I just sent somebody to a team member in Washington, D.C. I sent people to Florida before. So if you're looking to buy a home anywhere in the state, reach out to me at the number in the country. Anywhere in the country, reach out to me at the number below, and I'd be happy to help you guys out. So Dennis, Frank, I wanted to say thank you for joining me today. All of their info will be in the description below. You guys have a great one, and I'll see you in the next video.
Peace.